Hi everyone, and welcome to For Fan's Sake, the show that gives fans a voice. So this week we have a Man City fan in Jordan. Hey Jordan.
I do, mate. You're right.
Good, mate. You?
Yeah, very good.
Good. And we have Jason, the Liverpool fan.
You right?
Good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, excuse the Scouse accent.
You sound more Welsh than Scouse.
Yeah, funny that.
Jason's mum's Welsh. So obviously on the show, we kind of try and give fans a bit of a voice at the moment. With everything that's going on in the world of football, it seems like the fans are kind of getting lost a little bit and not being thought of as maybe as highly as they should be and how important they should. So the idea of this show is to kind of maybe vent a little bit, give us some opinions, maybe how, if people in the right places were listening to us, how we could kind of help them into making us feel a little bit more loved. So Jordan, tell us a bit about you, mate. How did you become a Man City fan and things like this?
Mine's pretty weird, to be fair. When I was a kid, I didn't really like football that much, and I remember I started playing. I was around 8 or 9, I think, maybe younger. I started playing. Do you remember LMA Manager?
Oh,
I think it was the game called LMA Manager. Anyway, I started playing that, and I used to pick City every single time, even though I'm originally from Bolton.
right.
But I used to pick City every single time, and then it got to a point where I was like, I think I actually like football. I'm playing a football game, and I think I actually like this. And then I started watching actual matches, and yeah, since then I just loved it. And then I remember my first game. I think my first game was so I don't even know what it was. It might have been a Europa League game, so I think it was quite late on.
Was that Etihad or Main Road?
No, it wasn't at Main Road. It was at the Etihad. I'm sure it was when it was the UEFA Cup. And we had a Lano there, and he hit the. In fact, it was against Hamburg. Hamburg, we got knocked out, and it hit the crossbar about 4 times.
Nice. So
Typical City.
Growing up, who was your favourite player?
It's mad actually. I have loads of. When I was I got Giorgio Samaras on the back of my shirt, thinking he was going to be mint,
Right.
and he just wasn't. And then since then, I was like, I'm never getting a player on the back of my shirt. I feel like I cursed it. I cursed that one. But, I used to love watching Claudio Reyna. He was mint. I used to love watching Alano. He was mint. But my favorite player, I don't know. It's difficult because it's difficult to ask a favorite player because I've seen so many good players now. Times have changed so much. So I've seen like the likes of David Silva and Vincent Kompany, Sergio Aguero, them players are kind of like
icons.
They take over because of everything that they've done for the club.
No, it was obviously with Vincent Kompany scoring his goal for the last championship you won, the last title you won. That goal was it?
Yeah, that was wild. Have you ever seen a video of that?
Yeah.
When he goes to shoot there's a guy in the back walking off. He's in the family stand.
Yeah.
And the iconic thing about the family stand is the worst thing about the family stand at the Etihad. The family stand just get off like 15 minutes, 20 minutes before the game's finished.
They've got the kids home.
Yeah, they just get off, and it's because City's car park is an absolute disgrace.
Really?
It's a really me and mate Lewis, we used to drive there, and there'd be times where the game would finish, but we wouldn't get home until after 12 o'clock because you'd be sat in the car park for 3 hours.
Yeah.
It's just there's one way out of a car park where 30,000 people are.
Yeah. This is the important thing we need to discuss on the podcast: the car park at the Etihad. No one else talks about this thing.
Yeah, these are the important issues in life. Yeah. Car park, yeah. And it costs you a tenner every time. So it costs you a tenner, and you have to wait 3 hours to get out.
Right.
But there's a guy actually walking off up the stands when he shoots there.
Nice. And then obviously one of the best clips from the Premier League era is obviously Aguero.
The 93-20 moment. I actually got on the pitch there.
Did you?
Yeah, I was. It's funny actually. I was crying my eyes out. There's an old guy next to me. He hadn't been there all season, and someone gave him a City ticket so that he could see him watch so that he could go and watch the Joe City lift the Premier League, which was nice.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was all going wrong, and this guy next to me, was gutted. He was so gutted, and then I felt gutted for him. I was gutted, and then. When that goal went in, I looked at him and he was crying his eyes out, and then instantly I started crying my eyes out because he was crying his eyes out. Yeah. It was wild. And another story about fans leaving too early. There's this guy all season in front of us used to go mad, and he was going mad about this game because obviously it was 2-1 to QPR, like 90 minutes.
Yep.
And he got off. You're just like, I've had enough of this, and he got off and left. Right. And I couldn't believe it.
It's the best moment in football ever.
Yeah, I remember at the end of it thinking, like, what what does he say to his mates now?
Yeah.
Does he just lie and say, "Oh yeah,
Oh,
93-20"?
it's brilliant, mate. Yeah, got on the pitch.
You'd have to lie. You'd have to
Yeah.
lie.
You could not go home and tell your mates.
No.
I left.
Yeah, I left before it
Yeah.
went in.
Yeah,
The
like
most iconic moment.
Yeah, like your moment is seeing the guy next to you crying and you crying with him. His moment is leaving early and missing it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, his moment.
You think about it, it's not even the fact that he missed that goal. He missed like the parade. He missed the trophy thing. He missed the people on the pitch. He missed the next hour after that kicks a miss. Not just that moment. It's just like the hour afterwards. That's just mental.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
So, Jace, obviously Liverpool fan.
Yeah.
Why did you start supporting Liverpool?
I'm going to show my age here.
Go on,
So I started playing football quite young, but didn't like it. I didn't really get on with it, which is quite mad now when you think about how much football I intake, throughout my life now with kids and coaching and all that sort of stuff. But I was that typical centre back at the age of 5 that would be making mud pies on the halfway line. The ball would run past me and it would be like, well, rather do this. And then I think I got to about 8 or 9. 8, 9, 10, something like that. And it started to change. I think it was like school. You'd play football in the playground. Then it was like, well, my mates were going on a Saturday to this football club and kind of got into it then. From there, and I'll be honest with you, it's probably glory hunting, really.
At least you're honest.
This is what shows my age.
Because there's a bit in the
yeah,
middle.
exactly. No. Literally, the first year I loved football was the last year Liverpool won the league until last season. So my I had the candy kit. That's that sort of era. That was it. So I love Liverpool. My dad was a massive. I started to like Liverpool. Glory hunting, they were winning. Blah blah blah. My dad was a massive Spurs fan, who weren't particularly great at that time, but through work really managed to get us tickets to every Liverpool game at White Hart Lane. So it would. I think my dad used it as an element of it kept my mum quiet because it was he was going to take me to see Liverpool, and he was there trying to persuade me that Liverpool are rubbish. You should support Spurs. That type of ilk. But my first game was at White Hart Lane. Versus Liverpool, and they won 3-1. Liverpool did, and at the end of the game, like I said, my dad used to get it through work, and they used to have the players' lounge, and that was my first experience of football. I got in a players' lounge.
Not bad.
I met Peter Beardsley, who at the time, him and John Barnes were probably my favourite players, and then when I got into my teens, then it was Robbie Fowler. And like Jordan said, is that I had God 9 put on the back of my shirt. Yeah. So I remember it. So yeah, it's kind of a bit of a joke amongst your mates and that. But yeah, no, that was me. And then I can't. Obviously, Liverpool gone from a bit of a weird time, really. The Klopp era is one thing, but I can tell you many other areas where it just wasn't working and kind of shambles and all that sort of stuff. But it's a very different time now. To being a Liverpool fan. I watched the game the other day, and you're looking at things and you're just saying, yeah, Jesus, look at the lads that are coming through. The youngsters. Man City's the same actually with Foden.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Just sit there going, the level that the intake that is coming in now is just like, wow. I wasn't that good at 19, 18, 19. Do you know what I mean? And I played with kids who were good footballers, and they weren't on that level either, So, and you just sit there and go, how high is that level now? But that's the scary part, like I said, as being a little bit older. But no, I'm loving life at the moment, being a Liverpool fan. I've got to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, exactly. It was interesting that obviously 15 years ago, neither clubs were doing kind of that great,
Mm-hmm.
Liverpool weren't doing great. Obviously, Man City were kind of dodging around, going up and down and things a little bit as well.
Yeah.
How they've completely transformed the club and the playing staff to being now two of the top teams in Europe, not only the country, especially the last sort of, obviously, Man City finished second last season, but before that, they were bossing it, everything, and playing amazing football. Now, it's not just English teams that win the Premier League by being aggressive and winning it. They actually perform well in Europe and playing amazing football. Like genuinely amazing to watch football. I love watching Man City and Liverpool play. My son's a Chelsea fan, my family are all Chelsea fans, so I'm kind of split between Brighton and Chelsea based on location. And watching Brighton play isn't the most fun thing you've ever watched. And when we used to go to the Amex, you're almost waiting to see how long is it to half time? Oh, really? 44 minutes? Really? So I mean, how's your sort of transformation, Jordan? The transformation to where you first started watching to what the club has become now?
Well, when I was in school, I used to get bullied by Bolton fans. I think that says it all. No, so like Bolton fans used to always laugh at me, and to be fair play to them, because they were at that time they were in the UEFA Cup, and we weren't. And this is, my mate Lewis has his story is the best, because he always says that he was sat home watching Bolton against Bayern Munich, saying that he wishes that City were that good. And I had that exact same thing, that I just wish at the time, when you're getting bullied by all these Bolton fans and you're just thinking, why can't we be that good? Why can't we be in these cups? And then obviously we got bought out and everything was, I'd say it was a quick turnaround, but it wasn't a quick turnaround. It kind of went slower than, I mean, it took us like 4 years to win the Premier League. Everyone expected it to be a lot sooner, and it took us ages to get into the Champions League. And I know they brought in financial fair play as like the City killer to stop like what we were doing, kind of what PSG are doing. But the issue that they broke financial fair play, because we already got into that elite bracket. So we spent a lot of money at the start. We spent so much money, but it was
to that level, right?
To break into that top bracket. Then when the financial fair play, it almost cradled us and kept us there. And then now it was to stop what we were doing, but essentially it kind of cemented our spot amongst the elite, and then everyone below it now can never get in there. So like, I always see Newcastle fans, they always slate City about getting bought out, and then they were close to getting bought out. And I always used to say, like, you're getting excited about being bought out, but it took us 4 years to win the Premier League. It'd take Newcastle like 15 years to even get close with the money, because they can't spend it. I mean, they have the best thing for them, they have St. James's Park. It's a massive stadium, so they can generate a lot of sales through that, and they do have a big fan base. But that's the issue with financial fair play. It's protecting the big clubs, and it's killing clubs like Bury, which is close to me. It killed them. And it nearly killed Bolton as well, speaking to them. Because you can't spend more than you earn, and because these small clubs aren't earning a lot, and it's killing them. But City now, we turn over just enough money. Like, people always say, this used to be the joke, right? It always used to be that our owner will get bored and leave. But literally, our owner could now get bored and leave, and it wouldn't change us, because we're just self-funded now. So we are chilling in the position that we are. I know I've kind of gone off a tangent of financial fair play there.
No, it's an interesting point. It's an interesting point. I hadn't thought of it like that. In fact, so to stop the people spending so much money, you're actually killing the people at the bottom. It's actually the exact opposite of what they wanted to do, right?
They're not. But it's so strange. It was such a weird move, and this is the thing. And it's because being a City fan, because of financial fair play, that we know a lot about financial fair play, because it's affected us the most, because it's against us the most. They've tried the hardest to stop us doing what we're doing. So then we know loads about it, in the sense that these smaller clubs like Bolton, they don't get it. They don't understand it, because they've never needed to. They used to just laugh and think, financial fair play is here now. Don't worry about it. It's not like you're not going to be able to do what you do anymore. But it's affected them more than it has us. They've had a transfer. Bolton had a transfer ban a couple of years ago, because they spent more than like $1 million or something. Isn't a lot.
Right, the week's wages or month's wages from most of your players.
Yeah, and they got deducted points. They've had a rough time, and it's the same for a lot of clubs. They have a rough time with financial fair play, because they don't earn enough money. And it's a shame, really, because the dream that I had, where I was like, I hope I can be as good as Bolton one day. I hope City can be sick one day. That's not a dream for any of these smaller clubs anymore.
That's just a life.
Leicester's one off, and that is good. That is mint. That's absolute madness. But Leicester are a very good side, and they're still a very good side now. And I feel like that dream for, say, like the smaller clubs, like it just not there anymore, because they can't think to themselves, oh, I wish we'd get bought out and we'd see all these mint players come into the club. We'd have stadium expansions and stuff, because they can't spend that money. They'll never generate that money. Bournemouth have got the smallest stadium, I think. Well, they definitely had the smallest stadium in the Prem last season. Is it like 15,000?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, it's only about 18,000.
Yeah, so how are they supposed to generate any sales? Like, they can't get any income to then boost profits. That's why Newcastle, if they did get bought out, they'd have a chance at it because of the size of the stadium and how big their fan base is. But smaller clubs, it ain't happening.
Yeah, exactly. It's a tricky question, Jordan. Jason, I'll see you the same one in a minute. What do you think your club do well? Not off the pitch. What do you think your club do well? And that's a tough question.
I think our club, the club, not the players on the pitch, is that what we're talking about? Club-wise, relationship between board and chairman and stuff, and the boss and Pep, that seems all very interlinked, and they all seem to be on the same page of each other. When you watch like the behind-the-scenes documentaries, they all have meetings together, and it all seems very, very together. Yeah. Like Khaldoon at the end of every season has his big like 4-part season video where he's talking to the fans about how he thinks things are going to go, like with the UEFA thing. And he came out very honestly about that. I feel like it's very transparent with him in some aspects, which is it's nice. It's nice about that. You feel a bit closer to the club.
Yeah, exactly. And what about you, Jace?
Do you know what? That's pretty much spot on what I would say about Liverpool as well. You know, it's quite weird, really, because obviously we don't know each other's answers here. So, you know, I would have said that 100%. Something that Jordan said a minute ago when like City got bought out. You know, don't forget Liverpool have been bought out twice since its original owners. You know, they had two people that I'm not going to mention their names because they were just, you know, gun ho and horrible. You know, and then you've got John W. Henry, and you know that relationship with Henry, Klopp, the management team, you know, through to the players and even the fans. You know, like, you know, we live in a world of content, you know, all the time. You know, I'm watching a program yesterday of Trent and Robertson's got a program on LFC TV. You know, kind of, you know, just documenting their stuff and that kind of thing of where supporters are allowed in to view and see, you know, kind of the ins and outs. You know, Amazon Prime's, you know, thing of they had Man City first, didn't they? And then they've done it with Spurs. Yeah. You know, it kind of really shows the ins and outs of what's going on and just how interlinked they are. And I think clubs like certainly Spurs needed to see that. Spurs supporters needed to see that. But I think Man City fans and Liverpool fans get that. You know, we see that from the outside in already. You know, we joked about it earlier on about, you know, Man United fans and stuff like that, but they would love to see that at their club right now. They would scream for that. You know, it's unreal.
I was going to say, I don't think there's any coincidence that the top two teams in the country at the moment that's the first thing I asked you was, what do you think your club did well? And you both said the same thing, the communication between the board and obviously the fans as well. And you're absolutely right, I was going to say the same thing. Man United would love that at the moment. Chelsea, to a certain extent, obviously got an ex-player as their manager, but Abramovich is a billionaire that goes around the world and we don't ever hear from him. Mike Ashley, we've spoken about Newcastle a couple of times. There couldn't be a worse relationship with the board and their fans than Mike Ashley, unfortunately. And I think Newcastle fans are great. They're obviously so passionate. And I've been to Newcastle and been to a game on a stag do. And when they say it's the heartbeat of the city, it really is. Like,
it is. I've done the same. I've done the same.
I've been to Newcastle before.
And it's weird that it takes a TV show or something like that for people to go, oh, right, if we just do that and be honest with our fans and tell them what's going on, that's all they really want. And I think that's the same as every fan. I think you guys, like I said, it's no coincidence that the top two clubs have that, right?
Yeah, I think it shows, doesn't it? We're the top two clubs and we're running like this. We have that connection with the fans. And it just, I think that keeps us at the top. It puts us above the rest before we've even got on the pitch.
Yeah.
If you're a United fan, you have no connection with that club. Sure, Sir Alex is on like the directors board, but Ed Woodward, they all hate him because of never get transfers done. And then there's no transparency or anything. Like I said before, Khaldoon comes out at the end of every season, tells you what's going to happen with the club, where he stands on everything, and what his honest feelings about how the season went. And I don't see that. And then And like Jason was saying about the John and Klopp thing, I feel like with Liverpool, it's a lot of passion. There's a lot of passion there. And they all have that same passion. It drives forward with the fans. And then that, like I said, the content that's out there with all these like City with their YouTube channel, Liverpool with their channels, like they actually show you behind the scenes, and it breaks that line of you being a fan, them being a football club. And you kind of, it shows you inside. And obviously we had that documentary which helped with that, but like Jason said, we didn't need that for that because we already had it. But
what did you think about that documentary? I haven't spoken to anyone as Man City fan or a Spurs fan. What did you think about the documentary? Do you think it was a good thing to do?
Oh yeah, 100%. It was great. Couldn't have picked a better season for it, and it was. I mean, the only better season they could have picked really was the Aguero one. But obviously back then that wasn't even a thing. But it's a really good documentary. It's mint, and it's funny actually that was said about United because I'm pretty sure it's not on there. I'm sure it is. The one place that we got refused access, that Amazon got refused access to film, was United because they didn't want us to film there.
Yeah. It's weird though, because if you look at them documentaries now, and I remember when they first come out, because there's been a couple, there's Sunderland, there's Leeds on different formats and what you can pick up and stuff like that, and they've all got their little things that you can look into. But I've got a close affinity to Spurs, but my dad's a Spurs fan, and my dad used to be a season ticket holder, so I've been to more Spurs games than probably any Liverpool fan wants to admit. But the point there is that you also get the feeling of, when you watch it, take Dele Alli right now, right? Okay, so we go right away off the beaten track here. Take Dele Alli right now. He's nowhere near that Spurs team. Nowhere near that Spurs team right now. He can't even get on the bench, right? But that seed was brought in via that documentary, right? For last season, when Mourinho started saying, I think you're lazy at training. You know, he's already putting this feed into him. So I think you're lazy at training. Good player, great player.
First training session.
Yeah, but I think you're lazy at training. And now suddenly you look all this Dele Alli stuff. Nobody's running around, the Spurs fans, saying, "Oh, we're missing Dele Alli. We need to bring Dele Alli in." You know what we really miss? 20 minutes. We need to bring Dele Alli on, because I think that seed's already been brought into their heads, 4 or 5 months ago, and then you start to see it, and that kind of drip feeds into the psyche of the fans there. Mourinho's not that clever to do that. That's just natural reaction.
He might have fabricated it completely.
But no, he's a genius at football. But I'm saying that he's seen that, he's put it, it's out there. But he knows now he's got a little bit. It's just everybody's seeing it, and I think you flip that back to both Jordan and I's team is that. For me, what I really love about Klopp and the Henry relationship is that when Klopp first came in, obviously we had like Mignolet as our goalkeeper, and we had defenders, but they were kind of run-of-the-mill defenders. We had I think we had
Colo Torre.
Yeah, we had Colo Torre at the time, and I think it might have been Skirtle and Lovren. Hardly the epicenter.
Skirtle's got a full head of hair now.
Oh, mate. Right.
No, that's criminal. It's criminal.
You've seen it. You've seen it.
Did he have a hair transplant? Because he literally had no hair.
Mate, honestly, I don't think it is. The way that feed comes out, I don't think it is. No, I think it's just a straight up psycho. He picked his hair just to look more hard. You know what I mean? But the thing is then is that how many times have we sat there at fans and said, God's sake, we need a new goalkeeper. Chelsea's a great example right now. We need that. We need a goalkeeper. If we get a goalkeeper, it will just shore up the defence naturally because they'll have trust in the guy. Liverpool did that. Liverpool had that. There was Mignolet's a good goalkeeper, but not the goalkeeper that could take us where we wanted to be. We had, like you said, Skirtle, Colo Torre, that was probably bought with the same mindset of what Milner was bought with, to be fair. Lovren was a good defender at Southampton, was taking that step up to Liverpool's sort of level, but probably wouldn't take us to the next one along. And literally the next transfer window, well, before the transfer window, we bought Van Dijk. It was already it was done deal. So you think, okay, why now we've really got a player? And then, like at the turn of the first week of the window, we've suddenly bought Alisson, who was the best goalkeeper in the Italian league, and I think he was a shortlisted for the Champions League Player of the Season or something, and certainly goalkeeper of the season. And suddenly, then we're looking around, going, "Well, hang on a minute. Now we're really kind of up up and amongst it. If you've got a manager and a team that is seeing the same thing as the fans, saying we need to fill that gap, we need to fill that gap, and we need to fill that gap, and it's being done rapidly, I think that assures fans as well that, actually it's not the case if it's not that the business model's working,
Yeah.
City had a similar journey with goalkeepers as well, didn't they? Had Joe Hart.
Ours was a bit wild actually, because I don't think you'll see a City fan out there that wanted to replace Joe Hart when Pep came. The guy won 4 Golden Gloves. He was absolutely insane. And I still go back to, I went there. We went to play Barcelona away, and it was the best performance I think I've ever seen Joe Hart, bar the Tottenham game where he first, like, when he came back to City and was like, I think from his Birmingham loan, that season where he pretty much, Shea Given was our starter, and it was dead set that to be a starter. Joe Hart came back and then produced a madness in the first game of the season against Tottenham. I think we drew 0-0 somehow. Tottenham were really good.
Yeah.
But it was Joe Hart, and he was so good then. And I think he's just been mint for us for ages. And then Pep came in and was like, don't like it. But I don't blame Pep for that, because Joe Hart's kicking ability is trash. It just is trash. It's really not good. I remember every single time we'd be at City, if Joe Hart was kicking from the right side of his goal, right side of his goal from the box to the left hand side, it'd always go out. Always. He couldn't do anything with his kicking. So, and Pep's style of football, play out from the back, and it's not going to happen with Joe Hart. And also, Joe Hart had a massive problem with his left hand side.
His left hand side.
His left hand side, yeah. He had a really big, and that wasn't just a City thing; that was an England thing as well. And I genuinely feel that left hand side stopped him from becoming in the elite bracket of goalkeepers. I think if he just sorted that out, Pep could probably have looked past the kicking ability thing. I say that, but maybe not. But I just think the left-hand side thing, it doesn't matter where you shoot from that left-hand side, it was always a goal.
Do you know what? It's weird, though, because I don't think as a fan, anybody picked it up. I think City fans might have. City fans might have turned around and said that. But I can't remember there being murmurs, among fans of saying, no, crack it on his left side, it'll always go in. Until until he went on the England duty. And I think it was the Iceland game picked it up, and there was already murmurs. I don't know if he'd gone at that time, but there was already murmurs he was going. And suddenly then it was like, oh, here we go. Anything that's hit on his left is just like, you got a better chance of scoring. And you could actively see, and still now to this day, you see strikers shoot across him because his left is that bad.
They know how bad it is. And it's really not good for a goalkeeper to have such a weak side to him. And I feel like
he just needs to stand on his left post and just dive right.
I feel bad for him because Pep came in and just binned him off straight away. He didn't actually get a look in, but Pep already knew. I think Pep made his mind up. But Pep's done that loads of times. You know what I mean? He's not afraid to bin off top players. When he was at Barcelona, he got rid of Ronaldinho, one of the best players in world football.
And Ibrahimovic.
Yeah. Ibrahimovic has a horrible relationship with Ibrahimovic.
Yeah, he hated him.
But it's Pep in it. He doesn't. I feel like when he comes in, he's like, it's not about your stature at the club. There was a time when we thought Aguero was going to get binned off.
Yeah,
we thought
last season ago,
because the relationship was, as much as people don't say it was, and that it'll never be admitted. I think at first the relationship between Pep and Aguero wasn't good because Pep was asking Aguero to do things that he's never done.
Yeah.
And Aguero, an insanely good striker, was, I think at first didn't take it in, but he did after a bit, and you can see now that they are fine with each other. But yeah, goalkeeper wise, I feel like
he went Bravo next. Was it Bravo you bought?
Bravo after that, and he was meant to be the one. He was at Barcelona and he was actually doing really well. I feel again we ruined Bravo. We exposed him. He was he could have stayed at Barcelona and been him and Ter Stegen swapping over.
Yeah, and
they probably would have had a really good time and just been, oh, Bravo was such a good keeper. But now it's like, hey, Bravo. Yeah. It's like
community shield only.
To be fair, the guys are we do well with our second keepers. We had Willie Caballero, really good at saving penalties.
Yep.
And could come in. Bravo was more of a situation where you don't want him to come in, but he can save penalties. So he was good for us in the cups. Won us a couple of cups. So I mean, fair play to him, and I wish him the best in his future. But Ederson is just the one for me. Ederson and Alisson, two best goalkeepers in the world, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's mad. The fact they're both Brazilian, I think, is it's a bit of a shame, really, that
Yeah.
they're not. Probably neither of them are going to reach, say, 100 caps for their country, or large amounts, because they'll swap each other.
Yeah, that's true.
Whoever's on top at the time or looks better in training is going to get that nod. So whereas if it was just one of them, it'd be like, it's a given, isn't it? Is it a Blacks? Who's the who?
Black from
Black, Atletico. Yeah, he's easily going to top out 100 caps because he's just so far ahead of the next person. It's just not even a chance,
Yeah,
I felt with Edison and Allison, we got them at good. I'd say good prices. We pay, I think, 40 to 50.
We did about the same actually. It's about 40 for him.
Hey, didn't you pay about 70? Didn't you?
I thought it was 70 for
no, I thought it was 40 with the add-ons. It got to 70.
Oh yeah, add-ons are probably better.
All right, okay, we're not
add-ons bring everything to anything.
Considering we've won everything now, I think we can firmly say the add-ons were hit. So
the add-ons equate to 2 billion.
Yeah.
To be fair, it's worth it though. But then you look at things like Chelsea and Kepa. Kepa's an awful keeper.
Was what then? The Mendy's.
They paid. Did they pay 80 million? Because they broke the transfer record, didn't they, for a goalkeeper by signing Kepa? Meant to be the next best thing, and he's just not it. But it goes back to what you were saying before, Jason, about the fans knowing where they need to. The fan and the club knowing that we need to replace this guy. We need to replace this guy, and it's the same with Chelsea, Lampard, the fans, the board. All in unison that Kepa's not good enough. We need to replace him right now before the season starts. They went and got Mendy, and he's done a few dodgy passes, but he looks mint.
Yeah.
I was watching the Community Shield from a couple of seasons ago when Sarri tried to sub Kepa off.
I was there then.
Were you? Yeah. Trying to sub him off, and he was like, "No, I don't want to come off." It's like, how on earth can you say that to a nutter like Sarri?
You look back at that now. That killed both. That's killed both their careers. That has because I think Sarri lost all face at that point, and for the legacy that he had beforehand and stuff like that. I'm not saying it soured it, but certainly over here we know that he's the guy that tried to sub off the goalkeeper, and the goalkeeper's going, "I ain't coming off." You can't literally saying you can't force me to come off it. And then you've got Kepa on the other hand, who looks like if he'd have become a million, complete and utter shot stopper, was saving games, saving points in games, left, right, and centre. You'd think, Christ Almighty, he knew exactly what he was doing. What a strong-willed young man! He knows what he's, know what he's about, and he's got all the.
Won the penalty shootout. Chelsea won the penalty shootout because he'd made a few saves. Oh, well done, mate.
Yeah, but now you just look at it and you think, God, he was a petulant kid. Do you know what I mean? That's the look, Well,
I think it was. They thought he was in. They thought he was injured. So he's going, no, I'm fine. I don't need to be subbed off. Don't worry about it. And we're actually saying, no, you're shit at penalties.
Get off.
They had Caballero on the bench, didn't they?
Yeah,
Caballero.
And he's mint. I think didn't Caballero save? He won as the Community Shield against Liverpool, I think.
Yes, he did. Yeah. But also, there was loads of things that had come out that it was always the plan that. If it went to penalties, Caballero's coming on because they were saying that Caballero could sit there and look at the videos for longer.
Yeah.
Because he had a look at where they take their penalties. So he was literally saying that it's probably going to be out of the 7. Let's just take 7 that were going to be on the pitch. They usually go right, left, whatever.
Yeah.
And Kepa had no idea of that, not a clue. Right. And you just sit there and think.
Well, you think you'd find it hard to believe because you think the goalkeepers are obviously trained by themselves, doing all sorts of witch doctor stuff anyway. And you find it hard to believe that there wouldn't be a plan amongst the goalkeeping coaches and the 2 goalkeepers. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a bit of a mental. But again, I think we'll put it this way: the manager that did it isn't there anymore. Adjacent to that, the keeper that's there has now been replaced and just doesn't look like he's going to enter the fray at all, so everybody moves on later on in life, but I think that's caused quite a lot of damage to that one instance alone has damaged that. I'm trying to think of a version we've had of that at Liverpool, and I can't really think too much about it, not in recent memory.
I think
You know,
it's
the closest I can get to is Moreno. Do you remember we had a left back, Moreno? Alberto Moreno.
Alberto Moreno.
Yeah, Alberto Moreno, and he was a good. I remember him being signed. Ironically, I was at the Spurs game, the first game of the season that he scored, and I thought, Jesus, this kid's good. But you could also tell he was a Brendan Rodgers signing. You know, you could clearly see he was a Brendan Rodgers signing. He just suited that, and then of course Klopp comes in. Klopp plays a very different way than a lot of managers anyway, let alone style to style. And he didn't fit. And if you remember, we played a UEFA Cup final against Seville, and they literally took him apart that game, and he never really played since. You know, it was kind of, that was the day that you knew his time was up. You know, and because I think we lost 3-1, and all 3 goals were attributed to his side. I think 2 of his were potentially mistakes and stuff like that. And it seems so horrible saying it, but you just kind of thought, yeah, that was the one.
Yeah,
I feel like with the whole going back to the Kepa and Sarri thing, you'd never see that at City and Pep, and you won't see that under Liverpool and Klopp.
No.
I can't ever imagine a City player ever having the balls to say no to Pep, or Liverpool player ever having the balls to say no to Klopp. I just can't imagine that. It just wouldn't happen, because I feel like the players respect the managers too much.
Yeah.
Well, that's Van Dijk be dragging the player off the pitch.
Yeah, that's it. Like, we'd have like someone like KDB dragging the player off the pitch, and it wouldn't matter who it was. It doesn't matter. In fact, we've just signed Ruben Diaz, and I think he'd drag the player off the pitch, like before anyone. And I just feel like it's the respect they have for the manager, and that highlighted the issues that they have at Chelsea. And like I say, Jason, it ended Sarri's career there. It has ended Kepa's career there.
Beginning of Kepa. So obviously ages ago now, I asked you what your club did well. Lots of places said the same thing.
Yeah.
But I think obviously not a Liverpool fan and not Man United fans, Man City fan, sorry, Manchester City fan. I work in fan engagement, and your two clubs lead the way in fan engagement in the Premier League by a long way, and sometimes in the whole of the footballing world. The only club that I can think that does better is Roma. But if you look at the content you guys put out during the lockdown, Nivea, obviously one of Liverpool's sponsors, gave away hundreds of iPads to care homes, and then did video calls with them in the care home. And they do stuff like that all the time. And City's exactly the same. Just before the lockdown, they did a video where they took a load of underprivileged kids around the training ground and the stadium, and like the security guard was John Stone, and then there was they littered them around the place. And it's that sort of stuff which fans, not only if you're the fan and you're having it happen to you, you feel amazing, but it also puts a smile on your face, I guess, as one of the team. As a fans of the team, going, oh, that's so nice to see them taking care of the younger fans or the older fans. You feel a bit more connected. I guess that's because while they're huge international brands, right, they also treat their community very carefully and very well as well, like the care homes, the young kids. I think that's one of the things that I would have said that you guys do incredibly well. And it's kind of part of what you're saying, the open communication between the board and the fan, but it's also the way they feel that the fans are important.
Yeah, but I think both managers come from backgrounds of that as well. You know, Pep's Barcelona bred, which we know that Catalonian kind of thing. They really, they have that ingrained in them, don't they? It's kind of like probably a them against us attitude. Which to be fair, Mourinho had at Chelsea. And the first time definitely. Klopp's the same. Klopp uses Dortmund as an example of it. Dortmund was like a sleeping giant, or like a small city that overachieved, certainly in football terms. And he thought Liverpool was exactly the same. It was built from community, everybody in the town. He actually likes the rivalry between Everton and Liverpool because it's a friendly rivalry. You have split families,
The friendly past Van Dijk.
Yeah. Yeah, not anymore, maybe, but that sort of thing there. But I think because the manager's basis of that, they're then able to understand the social content side of marketing and stuff like that a lot better. They understand that you need to get them. I've seen videos where there's one that Nivea did with a lad that worked at Asda, and he was the trolley collector.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, with Van Dijk, exactly. But if you watch it, Van Dijk's as happy to see him, right, as that lad is as happy to and it's like it's that kind of meeting of the minds a little bit, that it's kind of like, we are all in this together. Yeah. And I think, in a weird way, as much as
fans, you're with us. It's not the team
against
the world, it's the fans and the club against the world.
Yeah, and weirdly, I think, I would love to have seen a packed Anfield and streets of Liverpool, around doing cup parades and stuff like that, when we won the league finally. But actually, if you look at the content that came out during that time where they were trying to meet up with people, they were actually, meeting fans, doing Zoom calls. And by the way, I've heard loads of other stuff from other teams as well. There's loads of stuff. So it's not just Liverpool, that did it, or Man City or anything. Loads of clubs did it. But it kind of gave that, it kind of cemented that relationship between club and fans again, to say, look, we are still here, we are still around, and proof more in the pudding in the pay-per-view stuff, where people are boycotting pay-per-view and sending it to their local food banks. Yeah. The money, because I know Brighton's done it, I know Liverpool's done it.
The last two Brighton games have been pay-per-view.
Sorry?
The last two Brighton games have been pay-per-view.
Yeah. So, you do look at, I think Burnley, Spurs was another one where they did it, and they put all the money in. So, that stuff, that happens because clubs are in touch with their communities. That's how that happens. They know how to get it, and they know how to drive that forward. And on the backlash to that, people say, well, actually, I'd rather give it to here and support the community, and the clubs go for it.
Yeah. So next question I've got is, what? Obviously, we're speaking of positives, but it might be a hard question. But what do you think your club could do a little bit better? Not massive, groundbreaking changes, but is there anything that you'd like to see a slight improvement on? Obviously, it's tricky when you've just won the Premiership. Jason, I'll go you first, because I went for Jordan first last time, and he can borrow your answer this time.
No, no, what they do negatively, I'm not too sure.
Not necessarily negative, but maybe they could improve a little bit.
Oh, right. Do you know what? And this is talking as a fan now. Liverpool's very lucky that we have. We see a lot of our youngsters come through the team anyway. We do. But I want to use kind of Ryan Brewster as an example here. He was a very, very, very good player. Through the youth academy. And I'm not saying we should have chucked him in front of our front three, but there's got to be ways where we can work that better. Mm-hmm. Whether it is, do we hold them longer like Chelsea do? Because, and I believe there's a buyback clause on him, but I'm just saying, we kind of building through the guys through them ranks, and then they're gone. You kind of see them that way, or they then move on. I think it's a real difficult kind of thing that you see it. And it is hard, because as a fan, you want to see your homegrown talent, but then you also understand that we're in a privileged position. Like, we've just signed Thiago for like next to nothing. Next to nothing. It looks like that both Man City and Liverpool are about to go for the Bayern Munich fullback. Is it Alba?
Alphonso Davies.
Is it Alphonso Davies?
Alba, yeah.
Looks like we're both going for him. So at a snip, so it's really hard when you're saying, I really want to see these people come through, like Trent Alexander-Arnold, like Ben Foden, but then they don't. And it's like, we've heard about it for so long. Now we've got that big prospect, that centre forward that looked like a goal machine, has now gone to Sheffield United, and you just think,
Yeah, but I'm playing on the playing devil's advocate. Are they not saying, look, actually, we don't think you're good enough for us, rather than keeping you here and doing what Chelsea do, is going, look, we're going to let you go free, and we're going to let you try and build your career somewhere else in the hope you're going to prove us wrong.
110%. 110%. That's what I was saying. It's a real, like, we're talking about what can they do better. That is a small thing. Because at the same point, the next argument is, well, if you'd done that, you wouldn't have bought Jota. And if you hadn't done that, then Firmino isn't playing well at the moment, or a bit lackluster, and Jota's come in, and there's another argument there. Do you see what I mean? So I'm with it. I'm just saying that if you think about all of them academies that come through, like we've got Trent, I think both teams have got one each, which is Trent and Foden that we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Then say the next one. Who's the next one coming through? Like, for me personally, I'd love to see whoever the under-23 goalkeeper is come in instead of Adrian. I just sit there and think,
it can be anyone.
Well, Maybe, but it's more the case of, if Adrian makes mistakes, ask another one. If the under-23 goalkeeper makes mistakes, but he's getting his experience, it's that sort of mentality there. And that would be a very, very, very small one for me,
Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, no, I mean, my first answer was the car park. I mean, the car park
Mate,
but
it's not a bad life. It's not a bad football club. But the worst thing you can say is you got a car park.
Yeah. The car park, yeah. No, but I on a more serious way, I completely agree. When you said about boring the answer, I was thinking the same thing anyway. It's the getting the youth to the first team. We have a massive break there, and yes, when you look at the quality of both, I guess both, and the quality of both sides, it is hard to break into that team. You have to be something special, like Trent, something special, Foden, something special, like, and that's how you get in. But I feel like Liam Delap played for us. We had no striker. Liam Delap played for us, scored straight away, and the finish is something else. Top bins. I was just like, no one. So, only Sergio would have done that. Jesus wouldn't have done that. Raheem Sterling playing up front wouldn't have done that. And I just think, give him another chance. We lost 5-2 against Leicester. This guy came on when it was dead, and he brought Liam Delap on, and he got our only chance in that second half, and it was from nothing. It was just a dead cross into the box, but because he's powerful, yes. And then people always say this on our YouTube channel. Everyone always comments saying, "Yeah, he's dead. He's young though. I think he's only 17. Either 17 or 19. I think he's 17. He's only 17. You can't just throw him in like that. And I get it's a lot of pressure to be thrown in like that, but we don't have a striker, and he was thriving under it. And it's them kind of situations where you look at Borussia Dortmund who get it right. Like, look at Haaland.
Yeah.
They've got it right. He's so young, but they just know he's mint. So he plays week in, week out, and it allows his ceiling to get higher and his potential to grow. And people look at Foden all the time. There's a guy on Twitter called Phil Custis, right? This guy tweeted ages ago, and it's like a big city thing now. He tweeted ages ago saying when Foden signed a new like 5-year deal or whatever, and it said Foden's just signed a new deal to sit on the bench for another 6 years. And I was just like, and that always gets brought up now because
I can't remember his name.
That's how I remember his name.
Yeah.
And it's because now he plays all the time, so he always refers back to that. But there's another case for the fact that with these youth players, because there's so many, a lot do get loaned out, especially at City. Always get loaned out. Chelsea loaned so many players out. They feed loads of the teams. I'm sure like a few seasons ago they had like 25 players loaned out. It was mad.
I think they've got a squad of like 54.
It's mad. It's mad. How can you have like so many players loaned out? But it's developing talent like that. But a lot of people said Phil Foden should be loaned out, and they've been saying it for years because Pep's not been giving him a chance. But I was complete opposite, and it's easy for me to say that now. But I was the opposite because sometimes I think a loan move can have a negative impact. If you go to the Championship, you're playing Championship football, your level kind of drops to where Championship level is. You don't get and
the coaching as well.
Yeah, so like I completely agree with Phil because apparently it was Phil. City was like, yeah, you can go out on loan if you want, but Phil was like, no, I want to stay, and I don't blame him because and it shows in the way he plays football. He's learning off Pep Guardiola. He's learning off David Silva. He's learning off Kevin De Bruyne. He's surrounded by these players. And then Phil Foden is like a sponge and he's just taking everything in from all these quality players. And it's like, and you can see it in the way that he's become it. Everyone said Phil Foden, David Silva replacement, but he's different than that because he has so many traits from Kevin.
Yeah. Gets more goals as well than David Silva.
Yeah, as well as David Silva. He's like I always say this is a hybrid of Kevin De Bruyne and David Silva. Them two players make Phil Foden right now.
Yeah.
And I just feel like sometimes with clubs, it is better to keep your players, even if they're not playing. Like Brian Brewster, keep him, and he's learning from players like Mo Salah, from Mane, from Firmino. Even though he's not in best form at the moment, Firmino. But even if Jota came in, he's going to learn from Jota. And because they're so young, they can get all these traits from these players and make them better. And and then obviously it's different when you have a team that has the good, carry that, push it through. But I just look at players like Sancho. Sancho for me is probably going to be one of the best players in the world, and he's an English player, which is wild. His numbers for Borussia Dortmund speak volumes. We did a video on who we should sign to replace Leroy Sané. Ferran Torres was in that video.
Yeah.
However, we didn't pick Ferran Torres. We said he was second, which is a good shout from us, seeing as though we watched a video on YouTube for 5 minutes and was like, "Yep, he looks mint."
Yeah.
That's the only time we ever saw him. But Sancho, his numbers are just insane.
Yeah.
He's so good, and we had him. He was ours.
Yeah.
And I think he would have happily played for us had he gotten a chance. And it just goes back to, and that's the link that we're breaking. Tosin Adebayo, another. He's a centre back. We've been struggling at centre back, and he's now gone to Fulham. Guaranteed they're not doing great, but we're having this issue where we're losing talent now because they're not coming through.
Yeah,
Chelsea sold Kevin De Bruyne
and Mo Salah.
And Mo Salah. Yeah.
It's weird though, because I heard I was reading something about Klopp kind of had that same, there's a lot of players who are out on loan, I think this year more than last year, and a lot of it was because obviously the year before we'd done that run versus Man City, and it was kind of like, it was literally the toss of the hat of who was going to win the league that year, and he decided that the level of competition at training needed to be much higher. So he kept all the young kids in there. And the argument was that the kids were going to play under 23 football, but were training against Van Dijk, Mo Salah, Firmino, Mane 3 times a week, say. The actual games that they were playing were easier than the training that they was doing, on the thing.
Yeah.
And that really brought them forward. Now, what then happens is that we then have to play, hence there was no kind of reluctance on playing the kids in the, what is it now? I always call it the Carling Cup, but that's
Carling Cup, Carabao Cup.
Carabao Cup. Is it something else now or something like that? But yeah, that. And the Villa thing was tainted that way. But actually the way they moved forward was, again, it was because probably the hardest stuff was actually happening at training. And then of course I think that what then happens is that they get thinking, I need to break into my chance. I'm not getting it. Then it's the time of, do you move on or do you move off? So it is difficult. It is a difficult thing, and I think both clubs are extremely similar in many ways, and this is definitely one of them.
Yeah, I do a podcast with Gilberto Silva, and he always says that the training matches in training were harder than the games they played.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me.
You said you'd have Jens Lehmann or Martin Keown or Patrick Vieira digging you out, even you let down a little bit. And he said the games were harder in training than they actually were in the matches. By the time we went to the match, we thought this is a piece of piss.
Yeah.
So I wanted to speak a bit about football fans in general in the world of football at the moment. Obviously, with the coronavirus, we can't go to games, and it feels like we're having our pants pulled down a little bit with, obviously, we mentioned it before, the pay-per-view stuff. How do you think fans are treated, not necessarily by your clubs, and I'm not talking about individual clubs, I'm talking about football in general here. How do you think that maybe the Premier League, FIFA, UEFA are treating fans at the moment?
I'd say I think the Premier League have looked at this now and said there's an opportunity here to make money. So they've said, right, okay, because we've all had it for free. All these games have been for free. We can't go to the matches. We can't choose to pay the money to go to the match because we can't actually get there. The clubs themselves aren't allowed to do things with the fans where they can show it because they don't have the rights.
Yeah.
So Premier League hold all these rights and they're sat there and they've obviously they see how many people are watching the games. It's all free. Sky showing it. Everyone agreed to it, and then they sat there and gone, hang on a minute, we could make a lot of money here in a time where we're not actually, when we're losing because of Corona.
Yep.
And they're charging £15. Aston Villa had 4 games in a row on pay-per-view. £15 a game. Like, it's bad. Who's going to pay £15 to watch West Brom and West Ham?
No.
Unless you're a West Ham fan and West Brom, it ain't happening.
Yeah.
Arsenal, Chelsea, United, City, Liverpool, any of them, you're going to go, other fans will go, yeah, I'd pay that.
Yeah.
But that's a very minimal amount in a long season.
Yeah, exactly.
People can pay.
I couldn't agree with you more. And it shows in the numbers. So I think the average number of people buying a pay-per-view is 39,000 per game. And the Brighton one against, I think it was West Brom, was something like 15,000. So fans are showing with their feet, effectively, aren't they? Or with their wallets again. We're not going to stand for this bullshit. Do you know what I mean?
It's
Yeah, you're not making money from us coming to the ground, but also some of us have lost our jobs. Some of us have been sitting in our flats or with our kids for 6 months. Do you know what I mean? There's bigger things going on. Who should be taken care of more, the everyday fan or the massive football club that spends millions of pounds a week on playing their players? Who are you going to have sympathy for, right?
Do you know what? I didn't know the numbers. I didn't know the numbers, Tim. Is it 39,000? I'm amazed it's that high.
Yeah.
Honest to God, I'm amazed it's that high. I thought it was.
I don't know if it's changed recently. That was in the first 3 weeks or 2 weeks.
Right.
So I think it's dropped off now. So yeah, I think it was 19,000 for the Brighton game. And I think it's about that sort of level now. And I think the Premier League, like you said, Jordan, I don't think it's necessarily come from the clubs. It's come from the Premier League and Sky and BT. I think they're missing a huge opportunity because it's not going to be like this forever. They're missing a huge opportunity to engage with the fans and not just giving them football for free, but give them something else. Do you know what I mean? Be the commentator or anything. You know, we could come up with about an hour. We could come up with 10 amazing ideas that would change a person's life and make them feel better about the lockdown or make them feel a bit more positive about life. Because we know that mental health is struggling when we all shut away and people are struggling with that. Like I've had a friend commit suicide during the lockdown. I'm not saying that watching a game is going to save his life, but there's lots of people suffering at the moment, and the Premier League is missing a huge opportunity to put this right and treat the fans correctly.
Football is such a break from everything. You can watch football and shut off from the world, and none of your problems matter when you watch football because all your focus is on football. And obviously, yeah, you can rage at matches. Like every time we go to Anfield, it's a horrible time.
I've been in lockdown with 2 kids, so I would love to do that.
Yeah, so you just escape from everything. You escape from the world, watch football, and like you say, Premier League are missing that opportunity, that link with all the fans to just say, look, everyone's in this bad situation. Depression is probably at an all-time high because of everyone's stuck inside. Because of the way the world is, you can watch all the games just as it was at the start. I remember at the start, everyone was buzzing like, yes. And Sky Sports, I'm sure they came out and said that they don't agree with anything that's happening at the moment.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
They don't want to be charging people these £15 for these box office matches, but the Premier League, because the Premier League own the broadcasting rights to everything. They have the broadcasting rights, so they just broadcast it to Sky Sports. Yeah. Sky Sports they show it. It's the same with like the Premier League broadcast it to beIN Sports, all the channels where you go abroad and you can watch every match. That is still coming from the Premier League. Still Premier League broadcasters. It's just they're not closed behind the Sky Sports paywalls and the package, right?
Yeah.
But we are here, and I feel like they're just disconnected, and it shows the disconnect.
Absolutely perfect description. Absolutely perfect description. So far removed from the everyday fan. It's commercial people that are making this type of decision, and I think if they did the opposite, you should be doing more stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't know, showing the changing room or giving us more stuff for free. So that
like you said about the commentator thing, that's a great idea. Just stuff like that, where a fan of another club has a chance to be involved in a match where we can't get involved anymore.
Yeah,
or like a 10-year-old, 2 10-year-olds doing commentary. That'd be hilarious. Imagine how much fun I'd be watching two 10-year-olds commentate on a Premier League football.
It would.
I mean, that's the sort of stuff you should be doing.
Sky got close to doing that though, didn't they? Not the 10-year-old stuff, but I'm on about like more advanced content. Because when the lockdown first happened and it was like all football cancelled, Premier League as well, they used to do, Martin Tyler used to do a quiz with Jamie Carragher, because I think Jamie Carragher is known to be quite a bit of a football stato. And he'd be going against like James Maddison or I think Jesse Lingard was on one of them, that sort of thing. And they started to do it. And then of course, once that had happened and the football came in, they squashed that. But for me, I think you said that fans feel like they're getting their pants pulled down. I certainly feel like that. But also I think that it's also showing kind of a little bit how behind the times the Premier League are. In regard as an entity. It's all well and good saying, we got the best footballers on the pitch, and we're regularly in Champions League finals, blah 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 blah. The thing for me though is if you take a step back and say, okay, the Premier League own the rights to the game, right? To the games, charging £15 a game is ridiculous, right? Now I can quite easily watch Fulham versus West Brom right, if it's on Sky at 2:00 on a Sunday and I'm on my own in the house, right? That is not a problem for me, right? And I'd say that's probably fair play for a lot of fans as well, right? If Sky asked me to pay £15 for that, there's no way, not a shadow of a chance, I'd buy that game.
If they actually paid private for that game, you still wouldn't do it.
No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. But if you let's just say they took the Netflix model, right, and they charged you £8.99, £9.99 a month, and all the football was streamed down that channel, right? Every football fan would pay that, because every football 100%. Fan currently has Netflix or Amazon or whatever you want to call them, whatever platform you pick, Disney.
Like Prime did it on Boxing Day, didn't they? Prime for the last couple of years have done Boxing Day games.
Yeah.
Choose which one you want.
That's exactly it. You stream that down, every fan will take that. Every fan will watch the highlights afterwards. Every fan will dip in and dip out. They could then do your content pieces on it. You could then do, so you're literally bouncing into channels left, right, and centre, or little, niches and stuff like that. It's an unbelievable mistake that they haven't done that. And actually, COVID gave them the best opportunity to ever do that. And they could easily. And I'm not a commercial manager by any stretch of imagination, but I'm pretty sure they could say to Sky Sports, look, we're going to give you this. We're going to add to the BBC and to Prime and all that sort of stuff. But afterwards, you've got to understand that if YouTube and Google and all these people were vying for, the 3-tiered packages, then we can build our own and do it ourselves. Yeah. It's an unbelievable. I can't believe that they're not doing it. Honestly, I just think that they would have made the money they would have made would have been astronomical if they'd have punched that through during COVID.
100%, because like if you look at the people buying the £15, it's at minimums. But if you do say £8.99 a month to watch every Premier League game, you'll have so many more people doing that.
Yeah,
I think that they're going for big wins on one-off games, £15 a game.
Yeah.
But they're not they don't think of bigger picture. And that shows again how behind the times they are. Think about how everything moving forward is a streaming service.
Yeah.
Even Xbox, if you're on Xbox, you can pay monthly now and have access to loads of games. It's just, you're allowed to have them games. It's pretty much like a Netflix of games.
Yeah.
And it's like, that is just the way forward with things. Streaming services, pay monthly things. That is how the world is going. And it just, like you say, it just shows how behind the Premier League are at the moment, because they don't realize that. They don't realize how much money they could make from that. And I don't know how much money they can make from it, but even like, people might be like, oh yeah, but Sky Sports own these amount of games, BT own these amount of games. But if you have if the Premier League said, right, we're going to set up a streaming service for this, the games that are shown on Sky Sports, they'll get a cut, and Sky Sports can still show them games on the days.
Yeah.
So like, say if it's a Sky Sports game, they can still show that game, and then people don't have to do the monthly thing.
There's people that won't have that subscription service that would still want to see the game. I totally agree.
Yeah, but for all the other games, it should be like every single game is available on this streaming service that we've made now. But it's crazy that us three are sat here agreeing with this, and it'd make so much money. It'd make so much money.
Just to prove Jordan's point there, that example you gave there is no different to what the WWE do right now with Sky. So they have a subscription service that you pay £10 a month for, right? You get every month they have a massive pay-per-view, big event, that sort of thing. Yeah. You get that free, right? Which is by the way, is £15 on Sky, but it's a tenner if you pay monthly to the WWE, right? You get all the kind of niche shows, all the weekly shows, plus their content stream is enormous. Yeah. It's enormous. They've got characters that have individual shows, previous people that look back at careers and stuff like that. It's like another brand of like Sky Sports has the football channel and the golf channel. It's like having its own wrestling channel through there, and it's £10 a month.
The WWE's has more of its content viewed per month than any other sport or entertainment. It has 2 billion views a month.
Doesn't surprise me at all. Right? And it's £10. And I'll be honest with you, I'm one of them people that pay for it. Right, so I know that because my son's into it as much as me. But I admitted it. Right. So, but but the point is that they. It's not like that is a model that is so far-fetched and so out of the ether. You know, you've just said it. It's the number one sports entertainment company, or if you want to categorize it as sports views. Why isn't somebody just going, well, why isn't that not the Premier League?
Yeah.
Well, how is that not the Premier League? You know,
how does that not exist?
It's mad, isn't it?
Yeah, it's crazy. And in fact, when you talk about Netflix, say I work in fan engagement, and we did a kind of review about fans' sort of perception and how the fans are feeling about football and stuff at the moment. And one quote, I'll give you a couple of quotes. So one quote was from, I think it was a Newcastle fan. He says, "I'm so switched off with football at the moment. It just looks like watching football at the moment. Just looks like I'm watching another Netflix box set." And you go, "Do you know what? Actually, I completely get what you're saying. There's no emotion to it. There's no fans there. They couldn't." And then another one was from a Man United fan. He said, I hate football at the moment. I'm so switched off to it. I'm a season ticket holder and have been a Man United season ticket holder for 20 years. They could not rush to get back to playing football without the fans. They couldn't give a shit about me. They were happy to charge me 15 quid to have a cardboard cutout. And when I requested it, they couldn't send me even that. I'm so switched off with football at the moment. And another stat that I actually heard on Talk Sport last night, we said, so obviously we had the lockdown, and during the lockdown, kids were gaming and all that sort of stuff. He said there's been fewer kids coming back to playing football because they've stayed to gaming. So clubs are actually, or football is actually losing fans to gaming now. And now with another lockdown, it's going to be even less.
Yeah, that does surprise me. I've heard that. Well, not to that extent, but I've heard like interviews with people who have got small businesses, and they've said that, they've done the lockdown Zoom videos, but they said that there's not many people that have come back, to since lockdown. So, but I read something interesting in one of the dailies online, that they were saying that even to the point where like we're bound to go into like the Premier League and how we're going to, where we think we're going to finish and blah blah blah, but this season's definitely going to throw out more curveballs than any other season that we've seen before. The fact that West Ham can beat Leicester, well, you had that one day, didn't you? Had Leicester got lost to West Ham, Man United lost to Spurs at home, Liverpool lost to Aston Villa, away. It's just a day of random results.
We drew the day before to Leeds as well.
Yeah, you might. That's right. You drew that day, that kind of weekend as well. But there was something that was written in one of the dailies that was saying that part of the problem is to this is that, you've got kind of two types of footballer. Really, you've got the footballer that, even if they weren't a Premier League player, would probably be playing park football. Right, you've got that sort of. So it doesn't matter whether there's people there or not. That's them, And then you've got somebody that kind of thrives off the crowd, and that doesn't mean that they're kind of the exhibitionist player or anything like that. What we're saying is that they just get an extra 10-20% off like that vibe, the buzz of the crowd, and all that sort of stuff. And what's happening is that some teams have more of them than they do kind of the we'll play wherever, whenever, kind of attitude. And if you have too many of one or the other, and then you go against a team that is slightly, then is that, the people who need to raise their game an extra 20% can't do it because they're just not getting any emotion from the crowd or noise or chants or anything like that. So that's why suddenly then, if you just I'm not going to use my team, let's just use the Leicester West Ham thing. Leicester might have gone out, had a European game gone or coming up, and thought, actually, we're going to save X, Y, and Z at the back. They put in these people that really need to have a bit more of a buzz about them. They need a bit more, of a buzz of a stadium to get them going. It's not there. So suddenly Leicester are already playing 70% down of what they really need. West Ham come out and think there's a point to be proven here, and more people are gun ho for it, and that's how they get turned over and these random results pick out. So you can see why that happens, and then the fans turn around and say, "I'm just not getting it." It's just not fathoming in my head what's going on here.
Yeah, well, sorry, Jordan. I read a study.
No, that's all right.
Between when last season finished, and normally there is, like, statistically, there is more chance of you winning a home game because pressure the crowd puts pressures under, because of and you get more decisions, and you get more penalties. There's like statistically there is evidence to show that you are better placed to get more rub of the green when you're at home. That doesn't happen anymore. It's almost exactly 50-50. It's like 48-52%.
Yeah.
So that's why the smaller clubs like Brighton especially were trying to push for not playing games without fans, because they know that home game, there is that chance they could beat a Man United, or they could beat an Arsenal, or maybe not Liverpool or a Man City, but they could just give them that extra chance that would turn no points into a draw, or draw into 3 points.
For me, a big example is Wolves. Wolves are that team. They have such a big team of like an atmosphere. When you go to Wolves, it's a place where you're like, it's really hard to get points here. You've seen them take points off. They took points off City last season, took points off United last season, and it's like it's just a difficult place to go with his fans there. However, this season, and we're worried about going to Wolves. Not really. And we're worried about going to Burnley, another place that's like that. Not really, because the fans out there, they don't have that drive, and it will be a completely different game to what we're ever been used to.
Yeah.
And
Everton,
Everton's another one. I've been to it before, and you know what? This is a funny story. I was so drunk. Went to Everton, and we played them in the Carabao Cup. I think it was like one of the final stages of the game, and Lukaku scored for Everton against us. And I celebrated it because I was that drunk. But it was just a City goal. I started celebrating. I made Lewis next to me and he was like, what are you doing? I was like, I was celebrating thinking that we just scored against us. And that was embarrassing. But it's just these big atmosphere places. They just don't have that.
Well, it's
not going to be the same. And then for the fans at home, they're sat there. They don't have that same experience, so they don't feel that connection.
Yeah.
So that's why.
Well, it's just two teams. It's just two teams, and the better skilled team come off.
Yeah, it's like a training game, isn't it? Really, and I think that's why you're seeing a lot of goals. I do genuinely believe that. It's like that same article that I spoke about was talking about the 3-3 draw West Ham Spurs, and they said that if that was in a stadium full of Spurs fans, that would have been 6-0 Spurs, because they said there is no 100%. Way that they would have let them take the foot off the gas against West Ham 3-0 up after 20 minutes. I go
back to Leicester beating us 5-2. I go back to Villa beating Liverpool 7-2, whatever it was. That doesn't happen in a normal season because the fans get on your back.
Yeah.
Not a chance City let Leicester, like the fans don't let City drop.
Yeah.
And then it's the same with Liverpool. You really think Villa, was it at Anfield as well?
No, the Villa game was at Villa Park.
Even so, it doesn't like.
Well, the flip of that
Park,
was
they're going to have that big drive of Villa fans and stuff, but it's not going to get to that because the Liverpool fans will get behind the team. Whereas it's like you're sending the clubs out, the teams out, and they have no there's no atmosphere to get behind them. But then it's like this season, I 100% think City, for the first time since 2003, have a better. We've not won at Anfield since 2003, and generally it's because City their asses fall out. I genuinely think that this is our only chance to win Anfield for a very long time.
No, I agree with that, and I think that comes for a lot of things. It's like was it a cold Tuesday in Burnley? A game under the lights at Everton. These are they're not hard games now. Going to Old Trafford, that's not scary. It just looks a bigger stadium. Nobody's getting on their backs, and I think teams are. I'm not saying they're working that out now. They've worked it out from day dot. The thing is that now we're starting to see that actually it is more about who's worked better on the training ground. So you turn the flip on that of that Villa game versus Liverpool. If Villa had taken the lead against Liverpool, there would have been a lot of nerves in that ground. And the players would have felt the opposite. It wouldn't have been gun ho on them. It would have been hang on, get ready for the onslaught. And then it would have been, that you would have felt that nervous energy in the thing. So it does go both ways. But I agree with Jordan. Man City coming to Liverpool now it's a 50-50 toss-up. It really is. I think it's there's nothing scary about coming to a noisy Anfield now. It's not like inverted commas, the 12th man and all that sort of stuff. It's very much going to be. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I don't think it's going to go. I don't know which way it's going to go. I'll be honest with you. I'd take a draw right now.
What do you guys think, Jordan? What do you reckon for this weekend?
This weekend, obviously, it's at home this weekend, isn't it?
So that does make a difference, though.
That's what I was just about to say, but it doesn't actually make a difference. It's just another pitch.
Yeah. It's
just a different pitch. I actually don't know. I don't know. I'd love to say City are going to win, but they're elite. I have massive credit for to Liverpool because when it all started, when City, when we were at our peak, and we were smashing it, Liverpool kind of went, yeah, okay, well, we'll do it, we'll match you. But they didn't just match us; they bettered us. They went, okay, we'll do it. But then the next season, like, and it was really close. Then last year, they was like, right, we'll better it, we'll do it again.
Yeah.
And then that takes something to be able to. Every season for the past 3 seasons, I've said Liverpool will fall off. They cannot do this consistently like City can.
The same.
However, they can do it consistently like City can. Like for the past 3 years, the Premier League points total has been humongous. Like obviously, Liverpool probably should have broke the 100 points mark like we did. They should have done it. They probably deserved to do it with the football that they were playing, but it didn't happen. But it just shows that these City and Liverpool are just crushing it at the top. And but this year, look where we are now. Like I'm sure City is 7th, and it's completely different this year. So I think, like Jason said, I think it'll be a high-scoring game. It'll either go one way or the other. It'll either be really boring and it'll be a draw, like just chill, or it'll be a high-scoring game where there'll be loads of energy. But like you say, the energy of the fans isn't there. So you asking me to predict what's going to happen is the worst question in the world. But I'll just go. I'll stay confident and just say, "Oh, City, you're going to win," but I'd take a draw.
Yeah, Jace.
I'm going to go a little bit more. I'd take a draw. I'll be honest with you. I'd take a score draw right now. But I think just for pure what's going on right now, I'm going to say that Liverpool win off the back of a contentious VAR decision.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because I can just see that happening as well.
Yeah. Did you see the was it the Mane offside where it just wasn't offside? I can't remember what game it was. Was it Everton?
Yeah.
Everton, the last minute, was it?
Yeah.
What was it?
Yeah, it was Henderson's goal, but Mane's offside.
Yeah, and it just like he's completely not offside.
Yeah,
and if you look at the pitch and look at the line that they've drawn, the line isn't even like parallel with the lines that are on the pitch.
Yeah.
So it's not even straight. And it got throw back to last season when we played Liverpool at Anfield. There were so many dodgy decisions in that game.
Yeah.
Trent had his arm out and he hit his arm and there wasn't a handball. That happened twice. And then we had an offside goal that wasn't offside, but VAR. We have a guy in Germany who works for the VAR thing. Apparently VAR wasn't working that day. Hence why all the decisions, you never got a replay. And it was always really quicker than VAR's ever been. It was always within 10 seconds. It was like, yep, done. Okay, it's been checked. And it's like, I remember what you're thinking, how's that been checked already? It's been taken like minutes.
Yeah.
No, you don't need to see it again. Don't worry, we've got this one covered.
Yeah.
I think the VAR rule is, particularly for offside, is rubbish because it's a human putting the line in where they think it is.
Yeah.
Right, so I think it should be, the first thing is it should be a goal scoring part of your body, not an arm, because you can't score with your arm. You can't score with your shoulder. So it's got to be knee, foot, head, stomach. Do you know what I mean? The furthest point that you can score with your goal. Then it also,
the issue with that though is they will say that you can score with your shoulders.
That's
where they line it now, isn't it? The shoulder,
But you see what I mean? So it can't be your hand. It's got to be a goal scoring part of your body. But then it also needs to have technology that then the technology draws the line across it. Because at the moment it's a human that drags it across. And if they get it slightly wrong, that's the minute decisions. The reason we have VAR. Yeah, we've got a human putting the bit in, and it's the human bit that fucks it up.
I've got a big thing about this. Raheem Sterling, when he played for Liverpool, this is like completely different. But Raheem Sterling, when he played for Liverpool, and it happened again against West Ham. Raheem Sterling is so fast, and again against West Ham, you can move one frame where the ball is still at the player's foot. It's still touching the player's foot, but Raheem Sterling can be offside and onside within them 2 frames. So how can they? It almost gives the power to VAR to then go, right, we can choose whether he's onside or offside here because the ball is touching the foot of the guy who's passed it, and he can be onside and he can be offside because of how fast these players move now, how fast the game is. That's so common. We don't have the cameras. You'd have to have 120 frames per second cameras, which is wild. That's slow-mo cameras and stuff. That's every single camera would have to be running at that for VAR to even have a chance at working. And that for me is why it doesn't work. And another thing about VAR is this linesman rule where United Arsenal, I'll go back to last season, where linesman flags, Aubameyang's through, Aubameyang just goes, right, well, I'm just going to score it anyway. I always say, if you flag, I don't care how far away you are from the net, run and score it. because end of the day, they get it wrong. They still get it wrong. The linesman, there's no point. There is no point in linesman anymore. You should just,
I agree with that.
after every goal, just go back to VAR, see it was offside, and go, okay, no worries.
The reason that VAR is, I 100% agree with that. I think that's totally true. But weirdly, I coach under nines. I know Tim coaches his lads team as well. And, you always say to a kid, play to the whistle, play to the whistle, play to the whistle. Everybody's been taught that, play to the whistle. But there was a time when they didn't. Why should we just stop and throw our hands up? That rule actually now has proven you could go and run on score. And if it's then deemed, that you were right, the goal stands. If you stopped and throw your arms on the floor and the referee stops it, you wouldn't score. So I do get that. The worrying thing for me with VAR is the fact that, I'd take that a little bit further than you said. There's no need for linesmen. I don't think there's much point of referees much at the moment as well, because the referees are relying on VAR to correct decisions. And they use this thing of clear and obvious error, right? Now, the thing that gripes me on VAR is that what is a clear and obvious error? Because for me, if the ball goes out for a goal kick and it actually should have been a corner, right? That's a clear and obvious error, right? Because you've now given the ball to the defensive team rather than the attacking team. And if that's in the last 90 minutes, you're going to flood the box with all your players, right? The chances are you've got a better chance of scoring, So that's a clear and obvious error, but they don't check that.
No, they don't know where the line is. I remember we played. I can't remember who we played. It might have been Bournemouth last season. Aguero got stuck. It was a penalty. It should have been a penalty to City. VAR reviewed it. It was a penalty. However, and I remember watching it thinking it is a penalty. It's a Stonewall penalty.
Yeah.
And I was chilling, thinking, don't worry about it. It's Stonewall. Stood on Aguero, didn't get the ball. He goes down in the box, and then they went, penalty, but it's not clear and obvious area, so we're not going to give it. So it's like, where is this bar of clear and obvious area? What does a player have to do to get past that? How do they measure clear and obvious? It shouldn't be that. It's either that's why it's so inconsistent. It's either you do everything or nothing. You have to go, right, we'll review all of it and make sure everything's right, or we'll do nothing. You can't start like the corner thing is the one that annoys me the most. And the ball goes out of play and they're like, we're not going to, that should be a corner, but doesn't really matter. And then it works both ways, because say City get a corner and it should have been a goal kick and it's the 90th minute, we score from that corner. Buzzing, we scored and we've now won that game. However, it shouldn't have been a corner. So that then is a clear and obvious error. Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly it for me. And I agree with you. It's, it's all or nothing. And the thing that happened at Tottenham with Højbjerg, he got fouled. It was clearly foul, and the referee he looked at it and still didn't give it by saying, the player just touched the ball, and I don't even think he did, but they interviewed Mourinho afterwards and said, what's your take? And he refused to speak. He said, there's no point in talking. He said, all I'm going to, and they really pushed him, and he said, look, all I'm going to say is I miss the days of my football with goal line technology, and actually, in all fairness, the one thing that they have got right is goal line technology.
But
goal technology is brilliant because it's fact.
It's absolute fact.
Or it's not. It's past the line or it's not past the line, and it's very simple. But I think they just rushed to it, and I don't think they've had enough trials of it, and I don't think they've really thought out or got the right people designed the rules for it, like this handball bullshit. Do you know?
Another thing
your face shows.
With VAR, they changed it. Rather than Premier League going, we'll adopt the European way of VAR.
We'll do it our way.
They went, we'll just make our own. Make our own rules. So then that's why it's taken 2 seasons now, or a season, for us to actually be checking the monitor for things.
Yeah.
Whereas that should have been implemented for the start. The power is no longer with the referee. There's no point in a referee on the pitch. But the key is in the name of it. It's called VAR. It's assistant referee. It's not the referee. It shouldn't be all and end all. The referee should hold the power on the pitch. He can then decide. He can go to the monitor, review something, and say, "Yeah, that's a foul. Yeah, that's not a foul."
Well, I think it should be even easier than that. I think that there should be a bloke watching it, and he goes, "Right, ref, yeah, I think that was actually a penalty, mate. Go back penalty. Cool. All right, you've obviously watched it 50 times. There's no need for me to rewatch it. You made the decision. Cool." And it takes the pressure off the on-pitch referee.
And you could do that because they know who's doing it in the cabin, wherever it is, in the middle of London where they hide it or whatever. Yeah. And so that is done. But VAR actually, there was a time it actually worked, and it was at the World Cup when it first came out, and you used to see the referees go over to the screen. Some of them actually looked at it and changed their minds. Some of them went, "No, I don't agree with that. I think it did this." It worked. The closest, well, let's not say it worked, but the closest they ever got to working was at that World Cup when there was less rules, there was less definition in regards of what was and wasn't, and it was left to the referees. It was basically, like Jordan said, it was an assistant to that. The monitor was an assistant to that referee. Whereas now we've kind of interpreted it in the Premier League or the UK or whatever and said, well, actually, we're going to rely on that because that's fact. That's a video. I can re-see it, in multiple angles, blah, 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 blah. But of course, they then have the shadow of, oh, well, the referee didn't give that because he had a good enough view. We didn't deem it necessary to tell him. Well, what's the clip? What do you mean? He's deemed it's an error. Yeah. It's an error. It's mental.
It goes back to that offside thing as well, with the fact that the lines are pixels. So how can you? Do you know what I mean? Like you said before, Tim. Like how is it up to a man to judge where the end of my shoulder is?
Yeah.
Like imagine your shirt comes out a bit as you're running, and they're like, "Oh, there's his shoulder." It's not. My shirt's up.
Yeah.
Like how? Imagine someone. It's just wild how. For me, if it's an offside, forget the line. You should look at it. Just the referee should look at it and go, "Yeah, do I think he's offside? Yeah, I think he's offside." Rule it. Rather than going, they're going too much into it. They zoom in loads. Draw a line.
Yeah, if you it's got to go with the attacking team.
Yeah, there's a crazy stat that going around somewhere that off Graham Souness's opinion. Graham Souness thinks it should be done on the back foot, so the last point of your body, right? Because and people were saying, hey, you can't do that because people would leave an arm there, and he said it's impossible because your momentum is to run forward, so your arms have to be going forward. Your body would be leaning that way. But he said if you go off the back foot or the furthest kind of arm, suddenly then there'll be much more of a margin of error, so to speak. In regards if it's at the back, you've really got to have that defender has got to be so far forward.
That'd be unfair if you had Peter Crouch against Raheem Sterling. It'd be a little bit unfair.
Well, I get that, but what he's saying is that margin of error is now far greater. In regards of it would be put through. So it's allowing that. Well, where's their arm split? Where's the line? All that sort of stuff. And it would allow that more. And it's an interesting fact, but there's a crazy stat like if that had happened to all the offsides. That it would have led to something like something that's like 35 more goals in the Premiership or something like that. That where it had led to. It was ridiculous that.
Yeah, crazy. Right. Well, I think we've gone on from every single topic we could possibly go through. So, John, thanks a lot for joining us. Do you want to tell us your handle? Because I know you've got your own YouTube channel. Do you want to give us the YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, everything people can follow you on?
Yes, City Xtra on everything. Just City Xtra.
City without an E.
Pardon?
City without an E. Sorry.
Yes. Extra without an E. Yeah, City Xtra. I always forget that. People actually say extra, and I'm always like, no. Just because I'm so used to just seeing the XTRA. Yeah, City Xtra on everything, all channels. So.
Nice. And Jason, I know you've got a store, so obviously not related to Liverpool, but you've got your own online store, right? Where can we find your store? Yeah,
you can check out my bits and pieces in my store at derniercri.co.uk. So DERNIER-CRI.co.uk.
Nice. And when you say bits and pieces, you mean not your actual bits and pieces, you mean bits and pieces of clothing that you sell?
Clothing. Yes, Tim. Clothing and street art. Yes, Tim.
Nice one, guys. Thanks a lot for joining us. Right. And tune in next week for the next episode of For Fan's Sake.